The story of life in Texas begins not with a single landscape, but with many. It starts in the humid air of Houston, where the day's work is tied to the global flow of energy and commerce. It begins in the sprawling suburbs of Dallas, on vast freeways carrying millions to corporate offices that have reshaped the prairie. It starts in the hill country, on ranches where the morning still begins with the land long before the heat of the day arrives. And it begins along the Gulf Coast, where the lives of fishermen and refinery workers are shaped by the immense power of the sea and the sky. This is one of the most complex places to build an ordinary life in America. People move here for jobs, for space, for a lower cost of living, and for a sense of opportunity that feels quintessentially American. But life here is a constant negotiation. It's a negotiation with the intense summer heat that dictates the rhythm of the day, with the enormous distances that separate cities and families, and with the rapid growth that brings both prosperity and pressure. Texas can feel wealthy, affordable, expensive, urban, rural, traditional, international, and intensely modern, often all at once. Behind the myths, the politics, and the stereotypes is a reality that is far more diverse and interesting. This is the story of the millions of people who navigate these contrasts every day. This is what it really means to live in Texas. A Texas morning starts early, and it starts in motion. Long before sunrise, the first wave of headlights appears on the freeways surrounding Houston, Dallas, and Austin, carrying construction crews and refinery workers who get a head start on the traffic and the heat. As the sun rises, the state's great migration begins. In millions of suburban homes, families move through the familiar rituals of school lunches and backpacks as school buses navigate endless residential streets. The main arteries of the cities swell with commuters, a daily tide of cars, trucks, and SUVs. At the same time, in a small town in West Texas, the morning is quieter. A rancher is already out, checking fences and livestock under a vast, open sky. In a cafe in San Antonio, the air is filled with the scent of breakfast tacos and the sound of Spanish and English mixing freely. And in a high-tech office in Austin, a young software engineer is grabbing a coffee before the first meeting of the day. This is the face of modern Texas. It is not one identity, but millions. It is the oilfield worker and the brain surgeon, the fifth-generation rancher and the first-generation immigrant. It is a place of immense diversity, a state where the future is being built every day by ordinary people. To understand Texas is to live through one of its days, a day shaped by work, family, and the sheer scale of the place. The morning is a race against the clock. The commute is a defining feature of life for millions, a time spent in the isolation of a vehicle as the city slowly comes into focus. Work is the center of gravity for the day. The hours are often long, and the work culture in many industries is demanding. Lunch is often a quick affair, a brief pause in a busy schedule. The afternoon is when the Texas climate truly asserts itself. In the summer, which can last for many months, the hours between 2 and 5 are a time of intense, oppressive heat. Those who can stay indoors in air conditioning. For those who work outside, it is a battle of endurance. As the sun begins to dip, the state re-emerges. This is the time for errands, for grocery shopping, for picking up children from after-school activities, and for youth sports in suburban parks. The evening is for family. Dinner is the moment when the household reconnects. and as night falls, the state reveals its different social rhythms. In Austin, the bars and music venues come alive. In Houston, families fill the city's thousands of restaurants. And in a small town, the evening might end with the bright glow of the high school football stadium, the social heart of the community on a Friday night. To understand Texas, you must first understand Houston. It is not just the state's largest city, it is the engine of its economy and the blueprint of its future. Life here is defined by scale. The freeways are vast, multi-lane rivers of concrete. The suburbs stretch for miles in every direction. And the economy is a global powerhouse, built on energy, medicine, and logistics. For hundreds of thousands of people, life revolves around the energy industry. They are geologists, engineers, accountants, and executives working in the gleaming office towers of the energy corridor. The Texas Medical Center, the largest in the world, is another city within the city, employing over 100,000 people. But the true story of modern Houston is its incredible diversity. It is one of the most multicultural cities in America. Drive down Bel Air Boulevard, and you will pass through vibrant Vietnamese, Chinese, and South Asian communities. In other parts of the city, you will find thriving Nigerian, Ethiopian, and Latin American neighborhoods. This diversity is the lived reality of the city, expressed in its food, its businesses, and its culture. But life in Houston comes with challenges. The commute is a daily struggle. The humidity in the summer is relentless, and the threat of weather is a constant presence. Every resident has a story about a flood or a hurricane. They know the anxiety of watching the bayous rise and the immense community effort required to rebuild. To live in Houston is to live with a sense of both immense opportunity and profound vulnerability. If Houston is the industrial heart of Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is its corporate brain. This is the Texas of gleaming office parks, of Fortune 500 companies, and of explosive suburban growth. In recent years, North Texas has become a magnet for corporate relocations and for people from across the country seeking jobs and a more affordable life. Life for millions in the DFW area is the modern suburban experience. It is a life of new, spacious homes, of good public schools, of manicured lawns, and of shopping centers that cater to every need. The economy is diverse and robust, with major hubs for finance, transportation, technology, and logistics. Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is not just a place to catch a flight. It is a massive economic engine in itself. But this rapid growth has its consequences. The primary one is the commute. As the suburbs push further out into the prairie, commute times grow longer. A family might afford a larger house 30 or 40 miles from the city center, but the trade-off is hours spent in traffic every day. Car dependence is absolute. Life is lived on a vast network of freeways and toll roads, a world of chain restaurants and big box stores. For years, Austin has been the exception to the Texas rule. It is the state's liberal, creative capital, a city of live music, breakfast tacos, and a vibrant outdoor culture. It is home to the University of Texas, which gives the city a youthful energy. And in recent decades, it has become a major hub for the technology industry, a Silicon Hills that has attracted startups and tech giants alike. This has made Austin one of the fastest-growing and most desirable cities in the country. Young professionals flock here for high-paying tech jobs and the promise of a dynamic lifestyle. But the city's success has created a profound challenge for the people who live here: the cost of living. Housing prices and rents have skyrocketed, making Austin one of the most expensive cities in Texas. A teacher, a musician, or a service industry worker may find it impossible to afford to live in the city they help to make so vibrant. The traffic is notoriously bad. Longtime residents watch as familiar neighborhoods are transformed by new apartment complexes and luxury homes. Austin is a city at a crossroads, a place where the forces of explosive growth are clashing with the culture that made it so attractive in the first place. Just a short drive south of Austin, the rhythm of life changes. San Antonio is a city that feels more deeply connected to its own history and to its Hispanic roots than any other major city in Texas. While it is a large and growing metropolis, it has retained a sense of community and a focus on family that gives it a unique character. This is a city where Mexican-American culture is not a subculture, it is the mainstream. The influence is everywhere, in the language spoken on the streets, in the food served in family kitchens, in the music, and in the powerful tradition of family gatherings. San Antonio is also a major military city, home to several large bases. Military City, USA is a source of pride, and the presence of service members and their families from all over the country adds another layer to the city's diverse identity. Compared to Austin or Dallas, the pace of life can feel a little slower and more relaxed. It is a city built on family, community, and a history that is still visible on every street corner. To truly understand Texas, you must leave the endless traffic and sprawling suburbs of the big cities behind. The vast majority of the state's landmass is made up of small towns and rural communities, and life here is a world away from the urban centers. In a small town, life revolves around a few key institutions: the school, the church, and the local diner. On a Friday night in the fall, the entire town will shut down to go to the high school football game. It is more than just a sporting event. It is the central social ritual of the community. Life is slower, quieter, and more personal. People know their neighbors. Housing is far more affordable. But this lifestyle comes with trade-offs. Job opportunities can be limited. Access to specialized healthcare, higher education, or even a major supermarket might require a long drive to the nearest city. For young people, the quiet pace of small-town life can sometimes feel stifling, leading them to seek the excitement and opportunity of the big cities. The image of the cowboy is the most enduring symbol of Texas, and while very few Texans today live on a ranch, the culture of the land is still a powerful force. For the families who do work in ranching and agriculture, life is a business, a science, and a constant gamble against the weather. A rancher's day starts before dawn, not with a romantic ride into the sunset, but with the hard physical labor of mending fences, feeding livestock, and managing the health of the herd. Drought is a constant threat, a slow-motion disaster that can devastate a family's livelihood. The price of cattle, cotton or corn, set by global markets, is something they have no control over. This is a life of deep self-reliance and profound connection to the land, but it is also a life of economic uncertainty. It is a world of hard work and quiet pride, a legacy that has shaped the character of the entire state. The Texas economy is a behemoth, a diverse and powerful engine that has created one of the most dynamic job markets in the country. The traditional pillar of the economy is, of course, oil and gas. From the refineries along the Gulf Coast to the vast oil fields of the Permian Basin in West Texas, the industry provides tens of thousands of high-paying jobs. But the modern Texas economy is much more than just oil. The tech industry has exploded in Austin and is growing rapidly in Dallas and Houston. The healthcare sector is a massive employer, anchored by world-renowned institutions. The state's central location has made it a critical hub for logistics and transportation, with vast warehouses and distribution centers lining the interstates. This abundance of jobs is the primary reason why so many people move to Texas. But the job market is a reflection of the state's broader inequalities. While there are many high-paying jobs in fields like engineering and medicine, there are also millions of lower-paid jobs in the service industry, construction, and agriculture. For many families, life is a hustle, often involving multiple jobs, just to make ends meet. The idea of Texas as a cheap place to live is one of its most powerful myths. The reality is more complicated. While the overall cost of living can be lower than in states like California or New York, affordability varies enormously depending on where you live and what you earn. In the major metropolitan areas, especially Austin, the cost of housing has become a major burden. A family on a median income will find it extremely difficult to buy a home in a desirable neighborhood. Even in Houston and Dallas, rising home prices and rents are a constant source of pressure. One of the biggest hidden costs of living in Texas is transportation. In a state so vast and so dependent on the car, the costs of fuel, insurance, and vehicle maintenance are a significant part of every household's budget. Another major expense is electricity. The long, hot summers mean that air conditioning runs almost non-stop for months. A summer electricity bill can be a shock, easily reaching several $100s a month for an average family home. While Texas has no state income tax, residents still pay high property taxes and sales taxes, which can offset much of the savings. For many families, Texas is not cheap. It is a place where you can get more house for your money, but that house comes with its own set of significant costs. The phrase, "no state income tax," is one of the biggest draws for people moving to Texas. It sounds simple, but the reality is a trade-off. While residents do not see a state tax deduction on their paychecks, the government still needs to fund schools, roads, and public services. Much of that funding comes from two other sources: sales tax and property tax. The state sales tax is significant, and when combined with local taxes, it can be one of the higher rates in the country. The biggest financial burden for many homeowners is property tax. Texas has some of the highest property tax rates in the nation. A family might buy an affordable home, only to be faced with an annual property tax bill that amounts to thousands of dollars. So while the absence of a state income tax is a real financial benefit, especially for high earners, for an ordinary family, the total tax burden can still be substantial. In Texas, food is more than just sustenance. It is a source of identity, pride, and community. The state's culinary landscape is as vast and diverse as its geography. The most famous food tradition is, of course, barbecue. In Central Texas, it is a near-religious experience. focused on perfectly smoked brisket, served simply on butcher paper. Tex-Mex is another cornerstone of the state's identity. It is a unique fusion of Mexican and American culinary traditions, a world of sizzling fajitas, cheesy enchiladas, and the ubiquitous breakfast taco. But the food of Texas is much more than just barbecue and Tex-Mex. The Gulf Coast offers a bounty of fresh seafood. The incredible diversity of the big cities has created a vibrant international food scene. In Houston, you can find some of the best Vietnamese, Nigerian, and Indian food in the country. Food is the easiest way to see the real, multicultural Texas. It is shared at family cookouts, at church potlucks, and at tailgates before a football game. It is a way of bringing people together. The US-Mexico border is often seen through the lens of national politics. But for the millions of Texans who live in border communities like El Paso, Laredo, and McAllen, it is simply home. Life here is not lived on a hard line, but in a fluid, binational world. Families are often spread across both sides of the border. It is common for people to live in one country and work or shop in the other. The culture is a unique blend of American and Mexican traditions. Spanish and English are spoken interchangeably, often in the same sentence. The economy of these communities is deeply intertwined with cross-border trade. To live on the border is to have a foot in two worlds, to be part of a culture that is distinctly Texan, distinctly Mexican, and entirely unique. To live in Texas is to have a constant and deeply respectful relationship with the weather. It is a place of extremes, and learning to live with them is a fundamental part of being a Texan. The summer heat is the most dominant feature. It is a physical presence, a wall of heat and humidity that descends on the state for months. It dictates daily life. Work starts earlier. Outdoor activities are scheduled for the morning or evening, and air conditioning is a lifeline. The Gulf Coast lives with the annual threat of hurricanes. From June to November, residents watch the tropics with a practiced eye. They know the rituals of boarding up windows, stocking up on supplies, and the difficult decision of whether to evacuate. In the north of the state, the threat is tornadoes. The sky can turn a dark, ominous green in minutes. People know the sound of the warning sirens and the safest place to take shelter. And while the state is known for its heat, it is also vulnerable to sudden winter freezes that can cripple the power grid. A reminder that the weather here is always unpredictable. Texas is a state built for the automobile. With its vast distances and sprawling cities, car ownership is not a choice for most people. It is a necessity. Life is lived on a vast network of concrete rivers, the interstates, the freeways, and the multi-level interchanges known as mix masters. The pickup truck is more than just a vehicle. It is a cultural symbol and a practical tool. The consequence of this car dependence is the commute. For millions in the metropolitan areas, hours are spent every week in traffic. This has a real impact on quality of life, eating into family time and personal time. It also creates a significant financial burden, with the costs of fuel, insurance, and maintenance forming a large part of the household budget. The Texas lifestyle is inextricably linked to the freedom and the frustration of the open road. In a state so vast and often transient, family and community are the anchors of life. The family unit, in all its diverse forms, remains the central pillar of society. Weekend gatherings, whether it's a barbecue in the backyard, a family dinner, or a trip to church, are cherished traditions. Religion plays a significant role in the lives of many Texans. The church, synagogue, or mosque is not just a place of worship. It is a center of community life and a source of social connection. And then there is football, from the Pee Wee leagues to the professional stadiums, but most importantly, on Friday nights in high school towns across the state, football is a unifying force. It is a ritual that brings the entire community together, a source of shared identity and immense local pride. The classic image of Texas is a stereotype: the white, conservative, cowboy hat-wearing rancher. The reality of the state in the 21st century could not be more different. Texas is one of the most diverse states in the nation. The Hispanic population is large and growing, and Latino culture is a fundamental part of the state's identity, not just along the border, but in every major city. The state also has one of the largest African American populations in the country, with a rich history and a vibrant cultural presence. In recent decades, the state's cities have become magnets for immigration from all over the world. The suburbs of Houston and Dallas are now home to booming Asian communities with vibrant Indian, Vietnamese, and Chinese neighborhoods. This diversity is reflected in the food, the languages spoken in schools, and the thousands of businesses that give the state's cities their dynamic, international character. Modern Texas is not a monolith. It is a complex and fascinating mosaic of cultures. Despite the challenges, Texas continues to be a magnet for people from across the United States and around the world. The primary driver is jobs. The state's powerful and diverse economy offers opportunities in a huge range of industries. For many, the decision is financial. Even with rising costs, the ability to buy a larger home for less money than in states like California or New York is a powerful draw. The absence of a state income tax is another significant factor. But people also move here for other reasons. They come for the universities, for the warm climate, or to be closer to family. They come in search of a sense of space and freedom that is harder to find in other parts of the country. After showing the heat, the traffic, the storms, and the financial pressures, the question remains: why do people stay? Why do they call Texas home? The answer almost always begins with family and community. It is the network of friends and neighbors, the connection to a local church or school, the feeling of being part of a place. For many, it is a deep sense of pride in the state's unique culture and identity. It is a love for the food, the music, and the vast, open landscapes. It is a connection to a specific place, whether it's a quiet street in a Houston suburb, a ranch in the hill country, or a family home in the Rio Grande Valley. There is no single Texas lifestyle. The reasons someone stays in a bustling international city are different from the reasons someone stays in a small, rural town. But there is a shared sense of resilience, a belief in opportunity, and a deep, often fierce love for this enormous, complex, and ever-changing state. It is not just a place to live, it is home. A rancher closes a gate as the sun sets over the West Texas plains. A nurse, her long shift over, walks out of a hospital in the Houston Medical Center. A construction crew packs up their tools as the intense heat of the day finally begins to fade. A family gathers around the dinner table in a San Antonio home, the sound of their conversation filling the kitchen. From the humid Gulf Coast to the dry desert of El Paso, from the corporate towers of Dallas to the quiet farms of the Panhandle, millions of different lives are spread across this vast landscape. They are people of all backgrounds, drawn here by the promise of opportunity, held here by the bonds of community. They are living the real story of Texas, a story that is far more complex, diverse, and interesting than any myth. This is what it means to call Texas home.